Okay, so just after 6 p.m. on Thursday, and the latest on Storm Darragh, which is developing out in the Atlantic, as you can see here on the latest air mass satellite view, taking shape. And unfortunately, it looks like Darragh means business, tracking much further north than had been forecast even 2 days ago. So at the moment there is still some heavy showers. They're crossing the country. Some very strong gusts out there earlier today as well. Blew one of my gates open and blew a tree down the road as well. So some very strong gusts already coming from an unusual direction. There is a lot of weather warnings. Not going to go through them all. There's a lot of orange weather warnings for Friday night, Saturday, and some yellow warnings then obviously as well. There is no red warnings at this time, just to be clear on that. That's not to say warnings can't be changed. Some of the yellow areas might become orange. Some of the coastal areas in terms of the marine warnings could be upgraded as well. So something to keep an eye on in terms of the updates to those as we go through it. So as I say, the main band of rain is clearing tonight. Nice clear spells tonight, but cool, and there is a risk of some ice forming. But tomorrow will start off dry. But however, you can see here by around 9 o'clock, the rain is already going to arrive as Storm Darragh starts to move in. The rain will come ahead of the storm, so you can see there heavy rain moving across the country. By probably afternoon, most areas will have heavy rain, some very heavy thundery bursts possible. Could fall as sleet or snow on very high ground in the north. Very high ground in the north. But as that moves through, then you can see the rain will become less of an issue further south, but still heavy in the north, and some more rain as it pulls away. So it will be wet on Friday, but it will clear, and by Saturday we will see sunny spells and showers, and Sunday we should see lots of sunny spells and very few showers. So Sunday actually looks like a pretty good day, and high pressure in there for the early days of next week. A mix of sunny spells and cloud, but no rain up until at least Wednesday, Thursday. So the wind is the biggest problem. So we're going to see here just the latest ECMWF weather models actually still rolling out, not fully updated yet, but they are updated as far as the timeline that we're worried about. So Friday evening, as you can see, the centre of the storm, the strongest of the winds are on the back end of the storm. So as we go through it there, you can see this is for midnight. The centre of the low is just over Northern Ireland, and the strongest of the winds are to basically the bottom of the storm and to the back of the storm. So as we look at it, you can see here the strongest of the winds are basically on the left hand side of the centre, which is here, or the bottom of it, which basically means the strongest of the winds are in the south, southeast, and in the west and the northwest at that time. And unusually strong winds being shown by the ECMWF. We don't often see winds of that strong. Now, as we go through then until 6 o'clock in the morning, we will have a more detailed view in a second. You can see the strongest of the winds move into the Irish Sea, but still very strong winds over many areas. And as we go through Saturday, it's still very windy on Saturday, but nothing like it is Friday night. So the winds will very slowly ease, and through Sunday they will ease further, and then by Monday the winds are very light. So looking at that in another weather model, the R-Page weather model, which gives a little bit more of an hourly breakdown through it, you can see here the centre of the storm moving through. So by midnight, strong winds across the country. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, you can see the strongest of the winds are in the east. The good news for those flying, the worst of the winds should be hitting Dublin Airport when it's quiet, which is overnight, but could still see some impacts early flights Saturday morning. But most flights Friday night should get in ahead of the strongest winds, and then as I say, into the Irish Sea. But still very strong winds there on Saturday. Very windy day on Saturday. So looking at the higher resolution weather models, it shows the wind, or shows the showers moving away this evening. Some good clear spells, and then you'll see the rain starting to arrive here by 9 or 10 o'clock in the west tomorrow. Heavy rain right across the country through the afternoon. It will be kind of hit and miss at times. Possible squall line forming there. You could see some very heavy downpours tomorrow evening. If you're getting your hair done for your Christmas party, I'd suggest a bag or something over your head to try and protect it, or it'll be like that advert where you come out of the hairdressers to be blown into bits. Won't be a problem for me, as you can see. But more heavy showers following in behind. But the worst of the rain will be clearing overnight Friday night then. So if you're waiting for a taxi Friday night, there will be some heavy showers with those strong winds, but the worst of the rain will be clearing. So onto the high resolution winds. This is where it gets interesting. So light winds tonight, but tomorrow the winds start to ramp up. By lunchtime they're getting quite strong, but really it's after 9 o'clock. After the tie show has started from most areas, but in the west it'll be just as the tie show is starting, the winds will start to pick up and move across the country. So by midnight you can see strong winds there right across the country. The strongest of the winds are off the south coast there on that weather model, and you can see here at 2 o'clock in the morning the strongest of the winds are over the Wicklow Mountains. So those very strong winds you see there, that's the Wicklow Mountains. This resolution knows about the mountains, and it's able to adjust for that. But you can see very, very strong winds. Doubt to be many ferries Friday night, overnight into Saturday morning in the Irish Sea. Wouldn't fancy being on a boat if there was one there. So very strong winds, but the worst of them will be going easing on Saturday morning. So hopefully not too many delays for flights there. One of the biggest things about Storm Darragh is the wind direction. So as the storm pulls through, the wind direction is going to change. So if we look here at the wind direction on this, the arrows show you the wind direction. There was already some strong gusts from the northwest which damaged my gate, and you will see that things that don't normally blow over will blow over because of the wind direction. So as the centre of the storm moves through tomorrow and into tomorrow night, we will see the winds switch around, go from southeast, and then as the centre comes through, the winds will go northwest. Now that's unusual for us to see our strongest winds coming from the northwest. So what you will see there is you will see, as I say, gates and different things that don't normally get the wind being damaged by the wind. So a lot of people will say, oh, it was the worst wind ever because such and such thing blew down and never blew down before. But the wind direction plays a big part of that. Yes, there will be very strong and damaging gusts, but the fact that they're coming from the northwest is very unusual. But that's just something to keep an eye on because it is a bit different. If we look at the gusts here on this high resolution weather model, this is the Harmony weather model, we can get an idea of what kind of gust speeds we're looking at. Now it's still updating actually, just as I see there's another update rolling out, but we'll go through what we can see here. You can see gusts of over 110 kilometers an hour possible inland there. Now the gusts that you see there, 151, it's on the Wicklow Mountains. It's on the Wicklow Mountains. So I'm sure some people will share that and say gusts of 150 kilometers an hour, Storm Darragh is going to flatten us all. Unless you're on the top of Lugnaquilla, you're not going to see a gust of 151 kilometers an hour. But it is still going to be very damaging winds, and I'm sure that like the Mayo Sailing Club weather station on the west coast will probably see winds in excess of the orange level winds. But you have to remember the weather warnings, they're not marine weather warnings, they're separate. The weather warnings are for inland areas. So if a station on the coast like Macehead, Mallinhead or that Mayo Sailing Club records a gust over orange winds, that doesn't mean that all of the county is seeing stronger winds than that. So that's why Met Éireann say that it has to be widespread winds for the weather warning. So you could well have red level winds on the coast or near the coast, but inland you won't. So yeah, so very strong winds. I mean, nothing that we haven't seen before. Not the worst storm that we're going to see in the last 20 years or anything like that, even though some people might make out what it is. But the wind direction is certainly going to play a big part to it. This UK Met Office weather model is going for something a little bit more extreme, not a lot. Again, it's shown 171 there, that's off the coast, and it's in one very small area. Look, reading those figures on a chart can make really scary kind of things. Yes, it's going to be very, very windy. It's going to be a serious storm, but the wind speeds are not going to be that crazy for most areas. Looking at the rainfall, the heaviest of the rain will be in the northern half of the country. Over 40 to 50 millimetres is possible by Saturday lunchtime from now, so there is a risk of some localised flooding, mainly in northern areas. So obviously the ground is sodden, very heavy rain today as well, so keep that in mind if you're in an area that's prone to flooding. In terms of the wind speeds and the weather warning, this is Met Éireann's best indicator of what we can expect. So as I've explained here a few times, the darker the colour here, the more likely it is to happen. So if you look here, you can see that the very dark purple means it's more than 90% likely, 80, 70%, 60%, 50%. Where it's blue, it's less than 50%. Where it's light blue, it gets lighter, so 10% chance, 20% chance. So if we go through to midnight, you can see there's yellow wind gusts from many parts are getting into the purple level. So yellow level winds are likely, but the orange, there's only a bit of purple off the coast or on mountains really. So the northwest there could see some orange level gusts, but it's really not inland. And if we go to 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, you can see yellow gusts right across the country. Orange though, not a lot there. So that's why we don't have that many counties in orange. It's mainly the coastal counties that have the orange. And you can see here there's almost no red. It's only on the mountains and it's low risk, less than 30% chance of that. These are the sustained winds. There is a more chance for sustained winds off the northwest coast, again offshore. So based on Aaron's own forecasting that they use here, there isn't any red level winds forecast at present. Can always change, could upgrade, could very easily upgrade, but can downgrade too. Though you can see here orange level winds in the Irish Sea, and you can see here red level winds, sustained winds in the Irish Sea at 3 o'clock on Saturday morning, which is why I'm saying you don't want to be on a ferry. And as we go through that, you can see it continues into the Irish Sea, but starting to ease back inland in Ireland. So Storm Darragh is a significant storm. It has tracked further north than the weather models had suggested. There is a risk of power outages, as I say, coming from an unusual wind direction, which makes it more likely to cause disruption that people wouldn't necessarily be used to. But look, that's a long update, but if you're interested, that might give you some better indication of where we're going. Remember, it's very windy on Saturday, slowly improving. Nice day on Sunday, still breezy, but lots of sunny spells. And early next week, a lovely few days. So, best of luck and take care.